I'm the publisher of the Mascoutah Herald, and I'd like to welcome you to the Meet the Candidates Forum today, not tonight, but today. I'll be your moderator during the event. Anyway, I'd like to thank everybody for coming out because this is a great example of what democracy is. I made a comment a little earlier to some folks that, we all like to complain about politics and what's going on, but at times it seems like nobody really wants to get involved. And you guys are a great example of what our country is about. You're coming to become more informed about the candidates that we have running in the elections coming up. And I applaud your efforts. Thank you for doing that. Anyway, I'd also like to take this time to thank the Chamber of Commerce for letting us use their facility here. I would like to introduce our panel of community leaders that have volunteered to graciously screen the questions. Nancy Larson, Jerry Doherty, our past mayor, and Keith Cook. Anyway, respected community leaders in their own rights, and they will be taking your questions, and we're going to ask you to write them down. My son is somewhere around here, and he's going to be passing out cards and pens. Please write down any question that you may have of the candidates. Each candidate will be answering the same question. We'll be rotating the order so no one has to start first each time. And then if there's any rebuttals afterwards, we'll let them do that with 30-second rebuttals. We will start with the school board candidates. This is kind of a unique thing, and I don't know if you all explain or understand in our school board, and Matt, correct me if I'm wrong, because Matt knows a lot more about this than I do, but we're an at-large voting block. So when you go to the polls next Tuesday, you will vote for 3 candidates. Now, each of the candidates represents a township within our school district. And in the Mascoutah Township, I'll introduce the folks. Shannon Fast is unable to be here with us today, but the next candidate is Tonja Johnson. And Tonja is representing the Mascoutah Township. You can vote for any 3 candidates, okay? But at the end of the day, one person from that township, from the Mascoutah Township, will be a representative on the school board. The other 2 townships, one in Belleville, will have 3 winners in Belleville. And then the Eidman Township will have 3 people that may win in that also. But again, when you vote, you actually vote at large. So even though you may live in Mascoutah Township, you're certainly able to vote for anyone in the other townships. Then all those tabulated when it's all said and done, and then there will be 1 winner from Mascoutah Township, 3 winners from Belleville, and 3 winners from Eidman, maximum. Okay? The second township is represented by James Wolfe. The third township is Eidman Township, and it is represented by Matt Stukenberg and David Eidman. Okay? So with that getting started, if anyone from the audience would like to submit a question for any of the candidates, please raise your hand. Scott will bring you the stuff, and we can get started. Okay, with that, Tonja, would you start us off with your opening statement, please?
Thanks, Scott.
I'm going to read it because I am so nervous. Hello, my name is Tonja Johnson, and I am running for the Mascoutah School District Board member. I am both excited and nervous to be here. My background is in banking and finance. I worked in both the commercial and personal lending departments, and I was also a part of our management team and customer service. As a retired military family, I'm no stranger to budgeting, and I understand the unique challenges that military children and their families face. Together, my husband Justin and I have 8 children, ages 8 to 23. Our oldest is a Mascoutah graduate and is currently working as an athletic trainer in Morris, Illinois. Our second Mascoutah grad was a COVID class of 2020 graduate. A fun fact is I was the creator and administrator of the Adopt a Mascoutah High School Senior of 2020 Facebook page. There was so much tremendous outpouring of generosity and support for our graduates. It was both an honor and a privilege to be a part of it. Our 3rd and 4th Mascoutah graduates utilized the Collinsville Vocational Program through MHS. Our first one will be earning his welding certificate through SWIC in May, just a year after his graduation. And our other graduate from Mascoutah is graduating this year with her cosmetology license. Our sophomore is a very active student athlete who keeps me very, very busy. And our two youngest attend Mascoutah Elementary School. I have a 2nd grader and a 4th grader. Our 4th grader has loved being a part of the advanced program this year. Having lived here for the past 7 years, we feel blessed to be a part of such a terrific community, and we look forward to being here for many more. I'm running for a school board member position because it is my desire to give back to this community in a positive and supportive way. Thank you.
Thank you, Tanya. James Wolfe, Jim?
Good afternoon, and thank you for being here today. I'm Jim Wolfe, and I'm running for re-election for the school board. I've been on for the last 4 years. Before I begin, I'd like to ask everyone to keep the folks down in Mississippi and Alabama in prayers for this tornado that killed a lot of people and did a lot of damage last night. My story: I arrived here in 1991 after spending 8 wonderful years in the Pentagon. My 5 children at that time were 3 through 15 years of age. My wife Sue and I spent a lot of time looking in the local neighborhoods and stuff, where we wanted to have a home and where we wanted to go to school, our kids go to school. Looked at the scores of Mascoutah, and they're just outstanding. Also looked at the tax rate in Mascoutah, that was outstanding too, compared to O'Fallon and other places. In spring of '92, we brought the kids to the spring festival here. And there was children playing tag, skateboarding, flatbed truck with a band on it. People were eating brats and drinking beer. And there was something missing. And that was police. There wasn't a policeman around. And reading the newspaper in those days said, you know, that place did not exist in America. That was a defining moment for me. So in 1995, I retired from the Air Force and started my civilian life here. I'm running for a school board after 4 years of being on the board. Been fortunate enough to be involved with wonderful board members led by Matt here and some of the board members here today, and administration, and I've been very proud to work with them. And I'd like to continue working with the district and continue its reputation for educational excellence. I look forward to working with the new superintendent who we just hired, and I think you'll be pleased with him and his potential. What I bring to the district as a retired senior military officer and a corporate executive, I bring a seasoned perspective. That means I'm old. And thoughts up to the board. I hope to always be of value, or added value, I should say, to our decisions. So I have no agenda other than to advance the educational excellence and opportunity for our students, and I ask for your vote. Thank you.
My name is Matt Stukenberg. I've been on the board for 14 years. The past 6 I have served as the board president. I guess my little background. I have 3 daughters in the school system: a 7th grader, a 5th grader, and a 2.5-year-old, one that will be in the system. Born and raised in Mascoutah, come from a family of educators, and and I own a small business here in town. Part of what has made me who I am is the Mascoutah school system, and that's one of the main reasons I have run and want to be able to give my knowledge and expertise to support the district. Mascoutah is such a unique school district that you have a school system of 4,300 students in a town of 10,000, which is, most towns that'd be 1,000 students. But having the awesome connection with Scott Air Force Base and educating those military children, it's a great honor to do that. So we have a robust system with, like I said, 4,300 students across 5 buildings, and we are continuously growing. During the pandemic, when schools are losing 100, 150 students, we're gaining 100, 150 students. So we've been allowed to increase programs and provide great services for all of our students. So I just would encourage everyone to get out and vote. Thank everyone for being here today, and You know, it's people like you that make this community a great community to raise a family. Thank you.
My name's David Eidman, farmer, been a sixth-generation farmer. Family's lived here all our life. I've lived here all my life. Farming is a small business. We have a budget. We plan for the year. We plan 2 years ahead, that type of thing. Pay a lot of taxes, probably because we own ground. Property taxes get paid in. It affects the schools, or can affect the schools. If I get elected, I'll be third generation on the school board. My dad and grandpa were on the school board. And I like the, as you said, Mascoutah's a unique town, unique district. And we have a legacy in Mascoutah of a good school system, brings up good kids, and we want to keep that going. And that's the reason I'm running for school board, is to help prolong and keep that legacy continuing. That's about it.
Okay, we'll go right into the questions being asked from the, basically 2 parts, and I asked Jim if you would lead off. The question reads, what is the most important aspect of our schools today, and what would you do to improve it? The second part of the question is just the opposite. What do you think is the weakest element of our school district, and what's your solution for it? Jim?
Those are questions worth pondering. I think the best thing about our school district here is the community and the way our community reacts to needs of the children. During the pandemic, it was tough on everybody. It was tough on the kids. It was tough on the teachers. A lot of people don't have any idea how much time and effort the staff put in. It wasn't just an 8-hour day to make sure the kids were kept educated. And yet, after that, we still know that we have a deficit in learning. And so that's probably the second part of the question, is how do we catch up on the learning for our students in the next couple of years? We've got a PLC program that has been put in place to a different way of educating the kids, and it's going to focus on learning, not teaching. So,
Thank you. Matt, would you like to address the same question?
Can you repeat the question?
Absolutely. The first part of it is, what is the most important aspect of our schools today, and what would you do to help improve that? The second part being just the opposite. What is the weakest element in our school district, and what is your solution for solving it?
Well, as Jim said, you know, the Mascoutah community values education tremendously high, and we have great families that push our students and to get the most out of them. During the pandemic, it was tough. There was no 2 ways about it, and our staff, I mean, literally on days changing, would have to change how they were doing program. And kudos to them. They never complained. They just did it because they knew that was what was important for our students. You know, I think one of the challenges we're going to face, and I would say this is more societal and nationwide, is how do we encourage young people to go into the education profession? It's a tough environment right now, and we do, from the district level and the community, we do all we can to support our teachers. But as every industry is facing shortages, we're facing that same thing. We used to have hundreds of applicants for a couple jobs, and now we don't have that. Mascoutah is still a place that people want to be at, so it's not as affected us as much, but it's still going to be a concern as we keep on moving forward in the years to come.
Thank you. David?
Ask the question again, please.
Absolutely. It's a long one. What is the most important aspect of our schools today, and what would you do to improve it? The second part being just the opposite. What do you think is the weakest element of our schools, and what is your solution?
Good question. Well, not having since I'm not on the school board yet, I don't have the background these guys do. It's a tough question. But I think the military aspect of Mascoutah schools is both an important and a weak aspect, because it's important that we educate those kids correctly and have the money to do that. And so impact aid then comes in and affects that whole situation. And so to make sure that we keep impact aid where it needs to be as costs rise and different things happen, and if we can, do that, it's an important thing. It's also probably one of the weakest things in Mascoutah schools, is to make sure we have the funding to keep things progressing as they should, to pay teachers what they should get, and to keep the buildings and improved and keep things, rolling along. So.
Thank you, David. Tonja?
Yes, sir. I think some of the greatest things about the Mascoutah School District is the fact that they offer so many different programs, so many different, your kids can literally walk away with a cosmetology license. What other high school in this area can a kid do that? I think that the programs and things that are offered, the athletics, the music, there's just so much that comes out of this school system that is top-notch, and kudos to this great location. All of these people for putting these into place for our kids. It's to be commended. As far as detriments to the school system, I have a difficult time answering that question. I would agree with all three of these gentlemen. Money is going to be a factor, finding teachers is going to be a factor, and something that I hope that I will have the opportunity to work on and help the sitting board in the future.
Great. Thank you. The next question, and it will, Matthew, if you'd start, is directed at the vision of the town's growth. As we all know, we're right around the corner to having the Boeing facility opening in the near future. How do you see that affecting our school district, and do you have any suggestions?
Well, having a Fortune 50 company come into your school system is it can pose some challenges. That facility is in what we consider tip 3, that the school district and the city collectively negotiated with the county to produce some revenue right away for the school system. In a tip tax increment financing, traditionally they would build a building, we would get our tax money as soon as it's occupied. Since the city had to spend a lot of financial resources to bring infrastructure to that facility, the board, along with the city, negotiated what we felt was a great a deal for all parties involved. It's a end game for us to see a larger horizon. With that being said, though, it's going to bring more families. It's going to bring more students into our school, so we have to have the proper facilities to be able to educate those students. Currently, we're in the middle of planning to build out of pods, one at the high school along County Road. So when we built the high school, we built what we call shell space or pod space that are big open rooms. When you drive by them, you can't tell that they're empty. So this summer, next fall, they're going to go in there and finish those areas. We did the same thing at Wingate Elementary. So those are in the planning stages to provide that growth. We are looking at the Mascoutah Middle School, what we're going to do with that facility as far as adding on, maybe changing some things to make sure we have the space for that student growth. But the exciting things too is what someone like a Boeing brings is, they want to be engaged in our community. And I along with Mr. Harris, that was on the board, were able to go about 2 weeks ago to our NAFIS conference in Washington DC, and we met with our legislators. And Senator Duckworth's office is currently rewriting the FAA legislation. And they asked us, they go, would you guys be interested in trying to develop some curriculum and some programming for people that can fly airplanes, build facilities? And we were like, absolutely. And they were like, we can help provide that funding to you guys to give experiences to our students that maybe we have kids that want to build airplanes or fly airplanes or do drone technology. So you get someone like Boeing who their success is the next generation. So you know, we're excited to be working with them. I know the school district's already reached out to officials at Boeing to look at ways that we can collaborate and be successful together.
Thank you. David?
Question here?
Yes. What is your vision for the town's growth and due to the Boeing facility opening, and how do you see us participating?
One thing to be a little careful about is when you're going to look to project the future, what the class sizes need to be and what size the school needs to be. I know they've talked about building a new elementary school at some point in time. Is that right, man? Sometime in the future, they got some land bought. And I know there was some concern about the land maybe should have been bought next to 6th Street instead of where it was. But I talked to Dr. Fiedel about that, and he gave me a good thought, I thought. He said, well, I'm kind of glad it's not next to 6th Street. That way, little kids, when they come out for the bus, they don't run out on 6th Street and, potential hazard there. So, that's one thing that, and then with Boeing, we got to look to the future. What are they going to be? How big are they going to be? How many people? How many kids are going to go to school? That's going to impact the tax situation, impact the schools a lot because of infrastructure. So.
Okay, thank you. Tonja, what's your vision for the town's growth with the Boeing facility opening?
It is a concern of mine, having kids in the elementary school. I have kids in the middle school and one that's going to be there in just a couple of years. Kiddos in the high school as well. They're overflowing. The classrooms as they sit right now, there's not enough room for all of our students that we have right now. And then to bring in, who knows how many more families. I guess they're projecting 200 or 300 new people coming into work. That's a huge huge issue that needs to be dealt with, and it needs to be dealt with sooner rather than later, because those people are going to be coming. They're going to be coming soon.
Thank you. James?
Well, Boeing facility originally was planned for about 500 employees. I think now they're talking about 300 employees and 300,000 square foot facility. Boeing's plan with the government right now is to build 77 of these drones. I would imagine that number will probably go up as they're successful, and perhaps production will increase, and there'd be even more families moving in here. Now, of course, families moving to the district depends on how many developers are out here to build new homes and so on and so forth. It is a concern. We've, at the school board, we talk about maybe adding 100 students a year, but that number could change, depends on whether people are moving into this district, or they're going to Fallon, or where they're going to. But as Matt mentioned, and Dave mentioned, we've purchased land north of the middle school. That land, there's a couple choices there. We could build a new middle school, because we're kind of busting the seams pretty soon in the middle school, build a new middle school, and then move the 6th Street Elementary over into the middle school. Or we could build a new elementary school. So there's a number of choices there that have to be made, and the cost-benefit analysis and certainly will take place to decide what we want to do. But we're going to have to expand, and that's probably the main concern about what we're concerned about.
Okay, thank you. We're going to change gears a little bit. One of the questions we've had, it seems like 3 different courses here. One was about the growth of the school, which we've addressed, obviously. Now, one of the questions is regarding, and Dave, if you would please address this. Are you for or against teachers and support staff joining a labor union? And if you're against it, would you explain why?
Well, my dad was on the school board back in the 70s, I guess it was, and there was a teacher strike that went on then. And I was too young to remember all the details of the teacher strike, but I know it affected the community, affected the teachers, affected the school board, affected my dad pretty much too, I think. And so, labor unions started out, way back in the day. There's a reason for them to start, because employees were getting abused, and so the union started because of that. But unions, in my opinion, tend to go, the pendulum swings, and so they start out for a good reason, and things are pretty good, and at the end of the day, to the end of the time, it almost becomes a bad thing, in other words. And I've heard other people talk about the coal mine. There's a guy I know who's passed away now, but he worked for River King Mine down here as a union miner. On the picket line, out in the cold, 0 degrees outside, they were walking the picket line. And union boss comes up and says, "Hey, how's it going out here? Boy, it's cold out here. I'm going back in the office." He goes, "I'm not getting a paycheck." And this guy's out here, going back to the office where it's warm. And he said, I said, I'm done with the union. And he went back to work. So, am I opposed to labor union? No. Am I cautious of it? Yes. I don't want to see it get abusive, the union. But I think whatever happens, you got to work with your employees and have to be paid well and have to be taken care of it. That's just, otherwise it's just not, they won't want a job. So that to me is more important than the union. How is the Board of Education handling compensation for the work they do? So.
Okay, very good, thank you. Tonja?
My husband is a Boeing employee now, since retiring from the Air Force. And when he started, he was on the union. It was a requirement. He didn't have a choice. And from our personal experience, they did absolutely nothing for him besides take money out of our paycheck every 2 weeks. And that was, we could not see a benefit to it. I think our teachers work super hard. I think our teachers deserve every support that they can potentially get. And I would certainly hope that as a school board and as a school district that we would supply our teachers with what they need and what they want for their classrooms, that they wouldn't need a union.
Thank you, Tonja. James?
Could you repeat the question, please?
Absolutely. Are you for or against teachers and support staff joining a labor union? If you're against, would you please explain why?
Well, I think as mentioned, labor unions came about because of a need, because management wasn't always treating laborers correctly and respectfully. I'm not against unions. I think that the requirement for unions has somewhat waned over the years, but we have a teachers union here. I think we have a relatively good relationship with the union. Everybody has something they want, and somebody else wants to take that from them or give them something else that they don't want. There's a negotiation that goes on. Matt's a negotiator. He understands this stuff certainly better than I have. But I think the representing the teachers and their interests is important. They have to have an advocate. We in the school board certainly always try to keep the teachers in mind and the students anytime we do anything. So I think that the unions have a place, and I think that we will negotiate fairly with them. We'll get along with them to the benefit of the students and the community.
Thank you. Matthew?
Yeah, so in my industry, I'm signatory to many unions, so I deal with that on a daily basis. But from the school district's perspective, I think we have a great relationship with our teachers union. And, we each have hierarchy in order to solve problems. And the union is able to solve a lot of problems themselves with maybe a member brings up a concern or a problem, and through their union leadership, they resolve that problem. And if it has to get to, once a month, I think it's once a month, we have labor management meetings, or the district administration and the union leadership have meetings to keep, I'm going to call it keep the peace, keep any problem from escalating. And most of the time, it's a misunderstanding. But something we did the last couple, or that we spent the last couple of years doing is we had an inequity amongst our teaching staff that back in 08, I can say 08 through 2012, where we had some freezes where you didn't get to move on the salary schedule a step. You didn't, in essence, get a year of service on the salary schedule. And I struggled with that because we would hire a new teacher, or we would bring some teachers in from another district that had the same years of service as one of our teachers, but they were getting paid more. And the board made a conscious effort over the last couple of years to solve that problem. And I think it's made the staff, it's put everyone on an equal playing field, and it's something that I really worked hard pushing the administration along with the board. And the teachers, we were able to level that field out, and then they were able to give and extend the contract a couple additional years, so that this coming year we want to be trying to negotiate a new teacher's contract with a new superintendent, some new board members, and we all, collectively, the whole team, the administration, the teachers union, worked together, and we solved the problem. And in my opinion, it's been really good for the district.
Thank you. We're looking to change direction a little bit again. This time we're going to be addressing a couple of questions regarding the curriculum and parental rights in the school district. So if I could ask Tonja, if you would start this question, please. It reads, what is your perspective on transparency of the curriculum and parental rights?
I am 100% back transparency and parental rights. We are parents. We brought these kids into this world, and I 100% support parental rights. If there's an issue, if there's something going on, I beg you, please come talk to me. I want to know. If you see something, if you find something, if you hear something, if your kids come to you with any issues, I want to know. I want to hear about it, and I will advocate for my parents. 100%. I will advocate for our teachers if they see an issue. I will advocate for our children. 100%.
James?
I agree with you. It's come up quite a bit recently in politics and all. The school board is elected by the parents of the community. And the parents of the community should have a say in the education. They do by electing people to those positions. There's no reason why we would not be transparent. I have no hidden agenda. Nobody I know on the board has a hidden agenda. Our agenda is to further the excellent education that kids are getting in this community. And so anything we do should be certainly easily defendable and should be out in the open for every parent to know about.
Thank you. Matthew?
Yeah.
Transparency?
Absolutely. And I think whether you're a board member or whether you're an administrator or whether you're a staff member, parents have the right and should stand up and can have a conversation if they see something that they don't agree with and or don't like. But also in that process of the district, whether it's selecting some new textbooks or changing some curriculum, we have committees which involve parents and staff and administrators. So it's not like there's zero involvement and somebody just says, the superintendent or the school board or something says, this is the curriculum you're going to use. That's not how it works. And we pride ourselves in having community involvement in those things, in those curriculum decisions. And yes, I understand it's the hot topic, and I personally don't see anything that we've done staff-wise, book-wise. We don't have those issues that I'm aware of.
David?
Yeah, absolutely transparency, like Tonja said, to your kids. And also your tax dollars are going to pay for this stuff, so you got a vested interest in it when your tax money is getting put in the school. So yeah, definitely on the transparency aspect of things. You had said something, Matt, about, I don't know where it was now, but anyway.
Well, the next question kind of takes us a little further, I think, and, the concerns that many of you brought up, the politics of today. They'd like to know, and James, if you would start this question, the question is, what are your views on including critical race theory and gender identity in our school curriculum?
So those subjects and those words are dog whistles. Everybody's listening. First of all, critical race theory is a theory. It's not fact. I've read some about it. I agree that some of it's possible, some of it perhaps I don't agree with. It's a subject that belongs in a theoretical environment, and that's really not so much the high school, but in the college levels, I think it has its place and stuff. But we're going to hear people discussing it, and the different aspects of critical race theory, can be discussed in a civil way without people getting all excited. Unfortunately, people have a preconceived notion of what all these things mean, and I would suggest that if you don't really know much about it, you should read up about it a little bit. What was the last part of the question, sorry?
Basically, it was asking about CRT and then gender identity within our school.
The gender identity, that's certainly another dog whistle issue. The fact of the matter is that there are children, adults in our communities that have different challenges in their lives than most have. And gender identity is one of them. So we can deny it and say that we can preach it out of them or something like that. These things are perhaps just an anomaly among human beings, a little different. Different people have different ways of looking at things. We can't ignore those issues or those people or disrespect them. So we have to handle it in the most respectful manner we can, and respect and try to make their lives as inclusive and comfortable as possible. There's a very small percentage of people in some of those categories, less than 0.1%. It doesn't mean you disrespect them. Years ago, people were disrespecting people of color, and they were only 13, 14% of the population. You don't do that. We should be learning from to be better about including people and helping them through life.
Good. Matthew, would you like to address that?
Yeah, sometimes like Jim says with like CRT is, I've asked Dr. Fiegel, that I'm like, explain it to me, because I don't, sometimes you hear all this different things, and I'm sitting there going, well, it confuses me, and try to figure out what the heck's going on. But I think what we have to do is you have to be able to educate students, especially in the high school level, where you can have discussion and you can have disagreement. But the key thing is they have to be able to respect each other and talk through these issues. Certain things get passed down from the state. Like any new construction, we have to provide a unisex bathroom. I think they're now trying to change that law. Currently, we just have to have one stall. They're trying to change that law. I think that a bill was just introduced. It has to be 3. So, the school should provide certain resources to those students that don't feel the exact same as the vast majority. But, providing those resources, but not pushing it down and forcing it upon all the students.
Thank you. David?
Probably won't get elected because of my answer, but so my problem with the whole thing is this, is that you can identify as whatever you want or do whatever you want, but it starts disrupting the school, the classroom environment. That's why I got a real problem with it. Because we're here to teach kids, we're not here to do anything else. And we're here to teach them what we think are facts, at least what facts are. And I understand they may have an issue with this or that, and we shouldn't look down, and we shouldn't, but we gotta have a classroom that people can learn in. And so when it starts affecting that learning environment, that's where I have a real problem with it. So until that point, fine, you identify how you feel, I guess, but And then when it comes to the bathroom issue, there's a case in St. Louis where they offered a transgender person a special bathroom, they decided not to use it. Well, that doesn't fly with me. We offered you a thing, you know, to use it or not. I don't know, like I said, probably, I didn't get any votes for that, my answer, but that's just where I'm at in the whole thing, is it cannot disrupt the classroom. It cannot disrupt the learning experience. So.
Thank you. Tonja, would you like to address CRT and gender identity?
The question was, should it be taught in the classroom? Correct?
The question is, what are your views on including CRT and gender identity in the school curriculum?
Yeah. I don't believe that CRT or transgenderism should be taught in the classrooms. That's a personal issue between a parent and their child. It goes back to parental rights and parents being involved. I don't think that it's the school's job, the school board's job, to take those rights away from the parents.
Okay, thank you.
Can I jump back in on that? So the one thing that Matt brought up too was about the state rules. And that's one of the things I learned at the school board meeting when I was there last time, was that there are these state rules we gotta follow, and sometimes I think it's a problem, doesn't it matter?
It can add burdensome to, you're forced to do, you know, like policy, for instance. We have a policy committee that meets every 3 months, and they're approving policies that are based on changes per state law. So you don't have a whole lot of, you don't have a choice, you have to approve the policies as provided.
Yeah, so that's one other concern I have, is that, you know, what's the state making us do, and that, you know, they make come down to you have to teach this, so hopefully not.
That's a bridge crossing.
Right.
When you're faced with it, I'm sure. The final question that I have from the audience is regarding censorship in education. I believe this takes it a step further. I think we're probably looking at school book banning and things like that. But the question reads, and I believe, Matt, if you would, what are your thoughts on censorship within the education system?
I guess I would question, what do you want to consider censorship? I mean, I'm not trying to, you know, I think, you know, history is great. I mean, that's probably my favorite area is history, and is, you know, being able to teach and what made our community great, what made our state great, what made our country great. And, you know, the past is the past, and, you know, you learn from it, you teach it, but as far as, you know, book banning and that kind of stuff, I mean, I think everything needs to be age appropriate. You know, I don't want my kindergartner learning something that they could discuss at the high school level possibly. But back to, as everyone has said on this panel, is as long as parents are engaged in what is going on and what they're learning in the school, their students are, everything will be okay. When we lose that engagement, you know, that's a problem for all of us. But I also would say that, you know, as, you know, you could probably, a lot of teachers or whatever would say is, you know, I don't want to raise your kid. And that's, sometimes I feel like that's what can happen easily is, you know, drop off your student at Mascoutah Elementary at 8 o'clock and you pick them up at 3:30 and there's no engagement after that. And, you know, luckily we're in a community that doesn't happen. And I know our staff, whether it's from teachers to admin to school board, we listen, we take input, and if there's a concern, it'll be addressed, and that's what it should be. Because ultimately, we're here for you, we're here for the district, we're here for the students, and we want to create an environment that they can be successful in.
Thank you. David, your thoughts on censorship?
They're getting defined censorship. I mean,
I think we're talking about, banning books, we're talking about things like, there's been such a, censorship of certain things taught or statutes being taken down, those kinds of things that, I think that's what they're alluding to.
I understand, but you're not gonna put Playboys in the library, so.
No.
So.
Oh, God.
John's going back to.
Yeah. So how far do you go with, the question? And who defines censorship? Is the Bible allowed or not, or, is or what is it, So, but what, I think what Matt said, again, I'm not heading on the board yet, so many things I gotta learn yet. And I think we're pretty good off in Mascoutah, aren't we, as far as, curriculum and what's in the libraries and whether, So if we can keep that, maintain that level that we have here in town, like Jim said too, so that's the important thing, is to not go off in these deep ends that we see out on social media that other districts have problems with.
Tonja, would you like to address the censorship?
Because again, I think it goes back to parental involvement. If, as a parent, if you don't see a problem with your child bringing home something that's extremely inappropriate, in my view, that's between you and your child. That is not my call. However, having said that, I don't think that there are things that are appropriate for elementary age that, or that are not, appropriate for elementary age that are appropriate at the high school level or even in the middle school. So you have to look at who your audience is. I have not at this point seen anything come up in Mascoutah schools that would give me cause for concern. But that's not to say that I would not absolutely put my foot down if something did.
Thank you, Tonja.
Yes, sir.
James?
Read it one more time.
What are your thoughts on censorship in our education system?
It kind of puts people in the horns of the dilemma about freedom of speech, the First Amendment, and freedom of press, and so on and so forth. I don't think it's a good idea. I think that the community kind of decides what it wants its kids to read. The library has some things in there. I'm not saying they shouldn't have the books in there. They can have them in there, and they can do it like you're saying, age appropriate, and so on and so forth. We haven't had that problem in the school district and stuff. I think that it really becomes a dilemma, particularly with social media now. There's a lot of chatter about that going on right now, and that's where parents come in as far as restricting the kids and what they see, and they are the source of restricting the kind of things that they read. In Utah, I believe it is, they're passing a law right now that says that kids under 16 aren't allowed on social media between the hours of 10:30 at night and 6:30 in the morning. It becomes a nanny state when you do things like that, I'm afraid. And there's kind of between the two parties, they're kind of going back and forth on this issue. Anyway, won't get into all that, but anyway, I think that I don't believe in the censorship necessarily. I think that we can use community guidance and stuff and decide how we want information to be delivered to our kids.
Thank you. At this point, we'll move on to the final stage, which will be your closing remarks. And David, I would like to ask you to start, if you could keep it down to about a minute.
Oh boy. Our remarks. When you talk about, I'll probably go backwards here. We talk about censorship. The school, in my opinion, it's reading, writing, it's arithmetic. It's learning the basics. If you got, that other stuff that's out there, in my opinion, shouldn't be in a K through 12 program. That's college stuff. You want to go do something in college and learn about critical race theory or whatever, then go for it. But I think the school should be keeping your core stuff so you can become a Boeing engineer or Boeing whatever, or work for the Air Force or work as a farmer and be a good farmer, not just an average guy, and that kind of thing. Well, again, we have to keep the schools, have to keep the learning environment healthy, and not have uproars with, we seem like we're doing that with teacher negotiations and so forth. That seems to be going along well, so keep it that way. If it comes to unions, I don't care one way or the other, as long as everything's going well, it's fine. Keep it going that direction, and so we pay our teachers well, pay your administration well, keep the buildings up, and do that type of thing. That's important to me. And again, the learning environment is most important. These kids can't learn.
All right, thank you. Tonja, closing statement?
Well, I'm gonna read again. My kids have participated in our theater programs, in our music and choir, speech and debate team, in athletics, various clubs, and they've benefited from the IEPs, the 504s, the ESL programs, and our district's speech therapists. Knowing the challenges and struggles, the highs and lows, and having firsthand experience with so much in this system, I will be a welcomed asset to other parents and guardians, to students and to teachers looking for advice, and an advocate when faced with similar situations. My children are currently enrolled in Mascoutah schools and will continue for at least another 9 years. I'm pretty sure it's safe to say that I have a whole lot of skin in this game. I've been asked, why would I want to run? And more specifically, are you crazy? I may very well be, but the real why to that is every decision this board makes will directly affect me and my family, your children, and this community, now and for the years to come. I will be a voice for our Mascoutah parents and for our students and for our educators. I will listen and I will pray and I will advocate and I will not back down on behalf of all of us. Thank you.
Thank you. James?
A metric that doesn't exist that I'm aware of that concerns me a lot is a metric of what kind of citizens we release to the public after 12th grade. And there, to my knowledge, there's not any study or anything else like that. But from the people that I know, the children that became adults in our community and stuff, that I know, including my own kids, that have gone to college, gone to tech school, done all different things, become good, solid citizens of this United States. And that's probably what a real end objective should be. Everybody's not gonna be a doctor or a lawyer or a farmer or this or that, but everyone that leaves our school district, I hope that they're a successful, good citizen for this community and for our country. Thank you.
Thank you. Matthew, closing statement?
Yeah, first I'd like to thank everyone that was willing to put their name on the ballot, whether it's the school district or the city folks. You know, when we all are willing to sit on a board to do what we think is best for our kids in the school board's case, it's a great honor to do it. There's some exciting times coming up, and you know, I've been on the board for 14 years. I was able to hire, my second year, I think we hired Dr. Fiegel, and he was here for 12 years. And we have recently hired Dr. Dave Dietz, who will be assuming the role July 1st. And to think that Dr. Dietz will be the 4th superintendent in the last 47 years at Mascoutah it's a pretty amazing thing, when the average lifespan of a superintendent at one place is 3 years. And I think that's because the community supports the education at Mascoutah School District. And we value success. And that's something that is, you don't find in all communities. You know, when 15 years ago, when they needed to build a new high school, the community rallied and supported and was willing to pay to build a new high school because we value our education. And, you know, the greatest honor I get to do every year is stand up with the other board members and hand a kid a diploma. And because we hold this high standard for them. And to watch those kids walk across that stage, it's the greatest day of my school board life. And watching the, you know, and I've now been able to have where those kids entered our school as a fresh or as a kindergartner and now have graduated. And, you know, I wouldn't want to do this if it wasn't for the community that supported education at Mascoutah. And like I said, I like the support, and good things are happening at the Mascoutah School District.
Thank you, Matthew. That concludes the school board candidates portion of this evening, or this afternoon's event. And I'd like to actually echo that too. Congratulations and thank you all for running. Can I have a round of applause? Again, these folks are what it's about. So we'll take 10 minutes, and then we will have the portion regarding the city council candidates.